What unfolds when one of Hollywood's most respected actors loses his cool live on national television? With cameras rolling and millions watching, certain moments don't just make headlines, they become infamous. Tonight, we're taking a close look at an on-air clash that left the audience stunned and sent ripples through the entertainment world. What began as a routine late-night appearance quickly spiraled into an unexpected war of words. Be sure to subscribe and leave a comment below, because what happened between Hugh Jackman and Jimmy Kimmel is something you truly have to hear to believe. The night began like any other talk show taping. Jimmy Kimmel welcomed Hugh Jackman to the stage to roaring applause. After some lighthearted small talk about Hugh's flight and the weather, the interview seemed to follow the usual script, until it didn't. Jimmy smiled and asked, "So Hugh, you're back on Broadway, which is fantastic. But I have to ask, and our audience is dying to know, did you take this role because film offers have started drying up?" Hugh smiled, but a pause followed. "Well, Jimmy, that's not really accurate. I chose this project because I'm passionate about theater and wanted to return to my roots." Jimmy leaned in, smirking. "Come on now, between you and me, when was the last time you landed a leading role in a major studio film? Let's be honest here." A murmur passed through the audience. Hugh stayed calm, but his tone sharpened slightly. "I think you're misunderstanding my career, Jimmy. I've got multiple projects in development." Jimmy let out a laugh that didn't carry much warmth. "Multiple projects in development, Hollywood speak for unemployed, right folks?" he quipped to the crowd, earning a few uneasy chuckles. Then he added, "But seriously, there are rumors about your exit from the Wolverine franchise. Some say it wasn't entirely your call." Hugh's jaw visibly tensed. "I've been clear in past interviews. It was my decision to step away after 17 years. Jimmy nodded exaggeratedly. Right. But sources close to the studio claim Marvel pushed you out because, quote, you were getting too difficult to work with on set. The mood in the studio shifted instantly. Hugh gripped the arms of his chair. "I'm sorry, what sources are you quoting?" Jimmy waved it off. "You know how it is, people talk. Anyway, let's move on to something even juicier. Your marriage has been making headlines, hasn't it?" Hugh's demeanor changed on the spot. "I'm here to talk about my Broadway show, Jimmy." "Of course," Jimmy replied with mock sincerity. "But fans are curious. Rumor has it your wife's been meeting with her divorce lawyer several times this month." Hugh's voice dropped to a dangerous quiet. "I'd advise you to choose your next words very carefully." Jimmy, either missing the warning or ignoring it, kept going. "Hey, I'm just reporting the buzz. Between the career dips and personal troubles, it must be rough being Hugh Jackman these days. I mean, what do you really have left?" The room fell completely silent. The tension was thick. Hugh stared at Jimmy, his breathing measured but the fury unmistakable. "What do I have left?" he repeated slowly, every word soaked in cold anger. Jimmy, still oblivious, kept pushing. "I mean, no more Wolverine. Broadway doesn't pay like Hollywood. The tabloids say your marriage is crumbling. And let's be real, you're not exactly in your 20s anymore, and this is an industry obsessed with youth." Hugh let out a laugh, sharp and humorless. "You know, Jimmy, I came here tonight to share something I care about, something that inspires me. And instead, you've chosen to blindside me with rumors and cheap shots." Jimmy raised his hands in mock defense. Whoa, just asking the questions, Hugh. These aren't lies. These are real questions people are asking. Legitimate questions, Jimmy said. Hugh's voice rose slightly, the first crack in his professional facade. "You think spreading unfounded rumors about my marriage counts as legitimate journalism?" Jimmy shrugged. "Look, if there's nothing going on, what's the big deal? Just deny it and we'll move on." Leaning forward, Hugh locked eyes with him. "The big deal is you're sitting on national television inventing stories about my personal life for your own entertainment." "I'm not inventing anything," Jimmy insisted, though his confidence had begun to falter. Hugh wasn't letting this go. "I'm just bringing up things already out there, public knowledge." "Public knowledge?" Hugh repeated, his voice growing louder, anger breaking through. Show me one credible source, just one, that backs up what you just said. One legitimate outlet that reported these so-called facts. Jimmy fidgeted with his cards, clearly uneasy. Well, I mean, it's all over social media. Social media? Hugh cut in sharply, venom in his tone now. So your interview questions come from online gossip? Is that what journalism is on this show now? The air in the studio turned heavy. Camera operators looked toward the producers for guidance. Audience members started pulling out their phones. Jimmy began to understand just how badly he'd misjudged the moment. All right, look, Hugh, maybe we started off wrong, Jimmy tried to recover. Why don't we just talk about your show? But Hugh wasn't backing down. No, Jimmy. We're not brushing this aside. You invited me here, supposedly to talk about my work. Instead, you ambushed me with personal attacks pulled from tabloid garbage and social media nonsense. Jimmy's usual smirk had vanished, replaced by visible unease as things spiraled out of control. I was just trying to keep it light, have some fun. You know how these interviews go. Hugh didn't flinch. His words now came with the sharpness of someone done being polite. Fun? His voice sliced through the air. You think insulting my marriage and making up lies about my career is fun? That's your idea of entertainment? Jimmy chuckled nervously, the sound flat and forced. Come on, Hugh. You're being a little dramatic. This is late-night TV. We're supposed to have a good time. A good time? Hugh stood up, towering over Jimmy, who stayed seated and suddenly looked much smaller. You want to know what a good time would be? A host who actually prepares real questions about the project I came to promote, that would be a good time. The studio fell into a tense silence. Phones were up, capturing what was fast becoming TV history. Behind the cameras, producers waved frantically, but there was no stopping it now. Please, Jimmy, he tried weakly, motioning with his hand. Let's reset. Let's talk about your Broadway show. Still standing, Hugh held the room with sheer presence. Reset? You think you can just reset after what you pulled? You spent 10 minutes trying to tear down my reputation on live TV. And now you want to reset? Jimmy let out a laugh, awkward and unconvincing. You're blowing this way out of proportion. It was just a conversation. A conversation? Hugh's eyes burned. That's what you call accusing someone of being unemployed, hard to work with, and heading for a divorce? All without a shred of proof? That's your idea of conversation? Jimmy squirmed in his seat, clearly regretting his choices. I was just repeating what I'd heard. And where exactly did you hear it? Hugh snapped, voice thunderous. Tell me, Jimmy, name your sources. If you're going to attack someone's character on TV, have the guts to back it up with actual facts. The color drained from Jimmy's face. He had nothing. Well, I mean, there are always rumors in Hollywood. Rumors? Hugh leaned closer, his voice low and dangerous. You built this entire interview around rumors? You tricked me into coming here just to blindside me with tabloid trash? Jimmy made a last-ditch attempt to steer things back. Hold on, Hugh. You're making this sound way worse than it is. I just ask tough questions. That's what I do, Hugh said, straightening up. His laugh came out bitter and cold. Tough questions, Jimmy? A tough question would be asking me about the challenges of transitioning from film to theater. A tough question would be asking about the physical demands of performing 8 shows a week. What you did wasn't tough questioning, it was character assassination. The studio audience was glued to the moment, watching one of the most intense confrontations in late-night television history play out before their eyes. Jimmy's usual confidence had vanished. I think you're overreacting, Jimmy said weakly, though his voice carried no real conviction. Overreacting? Hugh repeated, his voice rising again. My wife is watching this show right now, Jimmy. My children might see clips of this online. You just told millions of people that my marriage is falling apart based on absolutely nothing. And you think I'm overreacting? Jimmy opened his mouth to answer, but Hugh wasn't finished. And let's talk about these so-called career struggles you mentioned. You said movie offers have dried up. That I was pushed out of the Wolverine franchise. That I'm too difficult to work with. Where exactly did you get that information? Jimmy fumbled with his note cards. There were reports. What reports? Hugh demanded. Show me the reports right now. Show the audience these credible sources you're basing your questions on. Silence filled the room as Jimmy realized he had nothing to show. His entire line of attack had been built on gossip and speculation, and now he was being held accountable in front of millions of viewers. I don't have them with me right now, Jimmy admitted quietly. Hugh looked at him with complete disgust. You don't have them because they don't exist. You made this entire thing up, didn't you? You decided before I even walked out here that you were going to try to humiliate me for your own entertainment. Jimmy's voice dropped to a whisper. That wasn't my intention. Your intention? Hugh snapped, his anger rising. Your intention was to create viral moments at my expense. Your intention was to generate headlines by destroying someone's reputation with lies and rumors. The audience remained silent, completely captivated by the moment, a masterclass in how to stand up when someone pushes too far. Jimmy looked like he wanted to sink into his chair and disappear. Let me tell you something about intentions, Jimmy, Hugh continued, his voice firm and in full command. My intention when I came here tonight was to share my passion for theater with your audience. My intention was to talk about the incredible cast I'm working with and the story we're telling on stage. Jimmy nodded quickly. We can still do that. We can talk about the show. Hugh shook his head slowly. No, Jimmy, we can't. Because you've just shown that you have no interest in real conversation. You've shown your audience exactly what kind of person you are. The words hung heavy in the air, an accusation that couldn't be taken back. Jimmy's face turned red, the usual cockiness drained away, replaced by clear distress. What kind of person I am? Jimmy asked, trying and failing to sound indignant. Hugh's reply was calm but devastating. The kind of person who invites guests onto his show and then ambushes them with lies. The kind of person who thinks other people's pain and struggle is just material for comedy. The kind of person who has so little respect for truth that he'll say anything for a laugh. Jimmy was visibly shaking now, clearly overwhelmed. Hugh, please. Can we just what? Hugh cut him off. Can we just pretend this didn't happen? Can we just move on like you didn't spend 15 minutes trying to destroy my reputation? The studio was deathly quiet. The only sound was the soft hum of the cameras. Every person there was frozen, locked into the drama unfolding before them. I'm sorry, Jimmy finally said, though the words rang hollow and desperate. Hugh stared at him for a long moment before answering. Sorry? You're sorry. Do you even understand what you've done? Do you get that your lies will live online forever? That my family will have to see this garbage? Jimmy's apology had only deepened the damage. Hugh wasn't letting go. His stare stayed fixed, his presence overwhelming. Jimmy's apology lingered in the air like smoke from a fire that refused to die down. You know what the really pathetic part is? Hugh's voice was steady now, but that calmness only made it more unsettling. You actually believe saying sorry makes this right? You think you can spend 20 minutes tearing someone apart and then erase it all with one word? Jimmy turned toward his producers, silently pleading for help, but they looked just as stunned as the audience. Hugh, I didn't mean for things to spiral like this, Jimmy said, trying to salvage the moment. Spiral? Hugh gave a laugh completely devoid of humor. Jimmy, things spiraled the second you decided to build your interview around tabloid headlines and social media garbage. It spiraled when you attacked my marriage and my career with zero evidence. The crowd was locked in, captivated as Hugh methodically stripped away Jimmy's credibility, bit by bit. Jimmy made a move to respond, but Hugh cut him off cold. No. You don't get to speak right now. You've already said more than enough. Now it's my turn. There was power in Hugh's voice, the kind that comes from being pushed too far for too long. You want the truth about my career, Jimmy? Fine. I just closed a 3-picture deal worth more than you'll ever see in your lifetime. You want to talk about my marriage? My wife and I just marked our anniversary last month, and we're happier now than we've ever been. Jimmy's face drained of color as it dawned on him how catastrophically he had misread the situation. But the worst part? Hugh went on. I shouldn't have to defend my private life to you or anyone else. The fact that I'm standing here explaining myself proves how low you've sunk. Jimmy tried again to explain. I was just trying to. Trying to what? Hugh snapped. Trying to humiliate me? To go viral at my expense? Trying to spike your ratings by trashing someone's name? The entire studio was silent, Hugh's words slicing through the air with unrelenting force. Here's what you've accomplished tonight, Jimmy, you've exposed yourself. You've shown every viewer that you lack integrity, professionalism, and even the most basic respect for the people who come on your show. You've shown you'll say anything, spread any lie, just to get a reaction. Jimmy was visibly shaken now, sweating as his usual poise crumbled. Hugh, maybe we should take a commercial break. A commercial break? Hugh's voice rose, sharp and commanding. Absolutely not. You started this, and we're going to finish it. Right here. Right now. In front of everyone. The audience was holding their breath, caught in the gravity of what was unfolding. You want to know what really breaks my heart about this? Hugh continued, his voice quieter but heavy with emotion. I used to respect you. I genuinely thought you were one of the good ones in this business. I believed you saw your guests as real people, not just entertainment fodder. Jimmy barely managed to whisper. I do understand that. No, you don't, Hugh shot back instantly. If you did, you never would have blindsided me with lies about my personal life. If you understood that, you'd have asked me about my work, what I care about. The reason I agreed to be here. He began to pace, his presence overwhelming, while Jimmy sat frozen in place. Instead, you chose to shame me. To tear me down and damage everything I've worked for. All based on nothing but rumors and speculation. You didn't just go after my reputation, you went after my family, my livelihood, and my dignity. Jimmy, grasping for control, tried one last time. Okay, maybe I made some mistakes tonight. But we can fix this. Hugh stopped pacing and looked him dead in the eye, fury radiating from him. Fix this? And how exactly do you plan on doing that, Jimmy? Are you going to personally call everyone who watched this broadcast and admit you lied? Are you going to apologize to my wife and my children for dragging our family through the mud with your fiction? The weight of those words crashed down on Jimmy, who slumped deeper into his chair. He had nothing left, no answers, no rescue, and no way to undo what had been done. Sure. Here's your text rephrased into short, coherent paragraphs, preserving every idea and detail without skipping or omitting any content. You can't fix this, Hugh said firmly, his voice unrelenting. You can't undo what you just did. Those lies you told, they're going to live online forever. People will clip them, share them, twist them out of context. 4 years. Jimmy's voice trembled. I never meant for it to go this far, but it did, didn't it? Hugh's tone hardened, unshakable. And whose fault is that? Did someone make you spread those rumors? Did someone force you to go after my personal life? Or did you make that decision all on your own? The studio audience watched in stunned silence, completely gripped as Jimmy sat frozen, being dismantled by his own actions. Hugh stood over him like a force of nature. You made this choice, Jimmy. You chose a cheap laugh over human decency. You chose viral moments over honest journalism. You targeted someone who showed up here in good faith, just to talk about their work. Jimmy could hardly look at Hugh anymore. The shame on his face was unmistakable, plain to everyone watching. And you know what else you chose? Hugh's voice dropped to a whisper, yet somehow it struck harder than anything he'd shouted. You chose to show your audience who you really are. Not the charming host they think they know, but the real you. The one who thinks other people's pain makes good entertainment. Hugh straightened to his full height, looming over the now silent talk show host like a giant standing among children. So thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for giving everyone watching a front row seat to what happens when someone without a shred of integrity tries to come after someone who actually stands for something. Thank you for drawing the line between people who lift others up and those who tear them down. Jimmy sat there in total silence, left without a single excuse. Nothing to say in his own defense. I came here tonight to talk about theater. About art. About something beautiful that brings people together, Hugh continued. And instead, you turned it into this circus. This attack. This sad excuse for entertainment that defines your world. Then, Hugh looked straight into the camera, no longer speaking to Jimmy, but to the millions watching at home. If someone invites you somewhere and then ambushes you with lies, don't just sit there. Stand up for yourself. Demand better. Expect the truth, not gossip. He turned back to Jimmy one last time. And as for you, Jimmy, I really hope this was worth it. I hope the jabs you took at my family were worth what's left of your credibility. I hope the few cheap laughs were worth showing the world exactly who you are. Hugh began walking off stage, but just before exiting, he turned one final time. Oh, and Jimmy? Don't call me for another interview. I don't associate with people who have no respect for the truth or for basic decency. With that, Hugh Jackman left the stage, leaving Jimmy Kimmel alone under the lights, staring into space while the stunned audience sat in complete silence, having just witnessed one of the most brutal on-air confrontations in TV history. The only sound left was the echo of Hugh's footsteps fading backstage. Jimmy sat motionless, staring down at his hands, knowing full well that every second of his public humiliation had been captured, and would soon be seen by millions. And there you have it. One of the most intense face-offs ever broadcast live, showing exactly what happens when someone finally stands up to a bully who thinks their platform makes them untouchable. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Was Hugh Jackman right to call out Jimmy Kimmel the way he did? Or did he go too far? Let me know in the comments below.